The travel cube burst out of the hyperspace tunnel with a sound like tearing fabric, and immediately the passengers inside were hit by a wave of intense heat and pressure. Gohan pressed his face against the transparent wall of the cube and looked down at the galaxy of Universe 11. It did not look like the peaceful home of the Pride Troopers anymore. The entire galaxy seemed to be on fire. Giant clouds of red and black smoke were swirling between the stars. It looked like a wound in the skin of the universe. Whis tapped his staff on the floor to stabilize the cube because the shockwaves from the battles below were shaking them even in deep space. Gohan looked at his father Goku and saw that Goku's face was very serious. There was no excitement for a fight in his eyes today. There was only worry. Vegeta was standing with his arms crossed, but his fingers were tapping against his bicep, which was a sign that he was anxious. They all knew that Universe 11 had Jiren. Jiren was a mortal stronger than a god of destruction. If Jiren was struggling enough to need help, then the enemy must be truly terrifying. The cube descended rapidly toward the main planet of the Pride Troopers. It was a planet that was usually a shining beacon of justice with tall white cities and flying cars and happy citizens. But now, as they broke through the atmosphere, the sky was the color of dried blood. The tall white buildings were broken and crumbling. The flying cars were crashed into the streets. Fires were burning in every district. The air was filled with black ash that coated the windows of the cube. Gohan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He remembered the future timeline where the androids destroyed Earth. This looked just like that. It smelled of despair. They landed in the center of the main plaza. The ground was cracked and covered in debris. As soon as the walls of the cube dissolved, the noise hit them. It was the sound of a million battles happening at once. Lasers firing, explosions booming, people screaming. Gohan stepped out first. His boots crunched on the broken glass. He sensed the energy of the planet. It was chaotic. He felt thousands of small evil energies. These were the shadow beasts. But in the center of the chaos, he felt one massive burning fire. It was Jiren. They ran toward the center of the plaza. What they saw made them stop in their tracks. Jiren was standing on top of a mountain of defeated shadow beasts. He was glowing with his intense red aura. He was punching and kicking with speed that was impossible to follow. Every time he punched, a shockwave cleared the street. But the shadow beasts kept coming. They were pouring out of black portals in the sky like water from a broken dam. And they were not just wolves this time. There were shadow giants. There were shadow dragons. And they were regenerating. Jiren would blow one apart with a blast of energy, and the shadow would just knit itself back together and attack again. Jiren was panting. He was sweating. He looked tired. It was the first time Gohan had ever seen the Grey Warrior look tired. Toppo was fighting nearby. He was in his god of destruction form. His body was huge and purple. He was firing Hakai blasts left and right. "Hakai! Hakai!" he yelled. But for every beast he erased, two more took its place. Dispo, the speed warrior, was on the ground. He was leaning against a wall holding his leg. His leg was twisted at a bad angle. He looked up and saw Gohan and the others. A look of relief washed over his rabbit-like face. He shouted that backup had arrived. Jiren heard this and turned his head. He saw Goku. For a second his eyes narrowed, but then he nodded. It was a nod that said, "I need you." Goku did not waste a second. He turned to Super Saiyan Blue instantly. The blue aura exploded around him. He flew into the fray and kicked a shadow dragon in the face. The dragon went flying back. Vegeta turned Super Saiyan Blue evolved. His aura was a darker royal blue. He fired a volley of energy blasts that rained down like shooting stars. Gohan stood there for a moment. He looked at the endless army. He realized that fighting them one by one was useless. They needed to find the source. He looked up at the sky. He searched for the general. He knew Kanba would not send an army without a commander. He closed his eyes and expanded his senses. He pushed past the noise of the battle. He pushed past the energy of Jiren and Goku. He felt something cold, something that felt like a spiderweb made of ice. It was coming from the top of the tallest tower in the city. Gohan flew up. He flew past the fighting. He flew past the smoke. He landed on the roof of the Central Justice Tower. Standing there was a figure. He was not big and bulky like General Raga or Akuma. He was thin and tall. He wore a long robe that was made of shifting shadows. He had a hood that covered his face. Only two glowing green eyes were visible. He held a staff made of twisted grey wood. This was General Vex, the Shadow Weaver. Vex looked at Gohan and laughed. His voice was not deep. It was high and scratchy, like dry leaves scraping on pavement. He said, "Welcome to the nightmare, little god." He said he had been watching Gohan. He said Gohan was the one who broke Raga and Akuma. But Vex said he was not a brute like them. He said he did not fight with fists. He fought with the mind. Gohan did not listen to the taunts. He knew better now. He stepped forward and flared his purple destroyer aura. He said, "Tell your army to stand down or I will erase you." Vex just laughed harder. He tapped his staff on the roof. Suddenly the world around Gohan changed. The burning city disappeared. The sky disappeared. Gohan was standing in a white void. He looked around. He was alone. He called out for his father. He called out for Whis. No one answered. Then the ground began to change. It turned into grass. Gohan recognized this place. It was the place where he fought Cell. He saw Cell standing there. But it was not the Cell he remembered. This Cell was perfect, and he was holding someone by the neck. It was Pan. Gohan's heart stopped. Pan was crying. She was calling for her papa. Gohan yelled and ran forward. He tried to fly, but he couldn't. His power was gone. He was just a normal human. He ran and ran, but Cell was always far away. Cell laughed and squeezed Pan. Pan screamed. Gohan fell to his knees. He felt a despair so deep it felt like drowning. He shouted, "Stop it!" He shouted, "Take me instead." Cell looked at him and smiled. He said, "You are too weak to save her. You were always too weak. You rely on your father. You rely on angels. You have no power of your own." Outside in the real world, Gohan was standing still on the roof. His eyes were glazed over. He was trapped in the illusion. General Vex walked around him smiling. He said the mind is a fragile thing. He said the stronger the warrior, the bigger the fears. He pointed his staff at the plaza below. He cast the same spell on everyone. Goku stopped mid-punch. His eyes went blank. In his mind, he was seeing a world where he never hit his head as a baby. He saw himself destroying Earth. He saw himself killing Chi-Chi and Gohan. He saw himself standing on a pile of corpses with a cruel cyan smile. He screamed in horror. Vegeta stopped firing his blasts. He dropped to his knees. In his mind, he was back on Namek. He was watching Frieza kill Trunks. He was watching Frieza kill Bulla. He tried to move, but he was frozen. Frieza laughed and called him a monkey. Vegeta roared in rage, but no sound came out. Jiren stopped moving. The shadow beasts crawled all over him, but he did not fight them back. In his mind, he was a child again. He was watching his parents die. He was watching his master die. He was watching everyone he ever loved leave him. He felt the old loneliness, the terrible silence. He felt that strength didn't matter because, in the end, everyone leaves. General Vex looked down at the battlefield. All the mighty warriors were frozen. They were trapped in their own nightmares. Vex laughed. He said this was too easy. He said mortals are pathetic creatures ruled by their emotions. He raised his staff. He was going to drain their life force while they were trapped. He started with Gohan. He pointed the staff at Gohan's chest. A green beam of light shot out to steal Gohan's soul. But inside the nightmare, Gohan heard something. He was kneeling on the grass, watching Cell hurt Pan. He was crying. But then he felt a warmth in his chest. It was the bond. The Trinity bond. He felt a heartbeat that was not his own. It was Goku's heartbeat, but it was fast and scared. He felt a sharp steel feeling. It was Vegeta's fear. Gohan realized something. He was not alone in this pain. His father and Vegeta were suffering too. And because they were linked, their pain was flowing into him and his pain was flowing into them. Gohan realized that this was not real. This was a trick. Pan was safe on Earth. Cell was dead. This was just a shadow. Gohan stood up in the illusion. He wiped his tears. He looked at Cell. He said, "You are not real." Cell laughed and said, "I am as real as your fear." Gohan shook his head. He said, "My fear is real, but so is my strength. And my strength does not come from being alone. It comes from them." Gohan reached out with his mind. He pulled on the bond. He shouted to his father. He shouted, "Dad, wake up! It's a lie!" He shouted, "Vegeta, wake up! You are the prince. No one controls you." In his own nightmare, Goku heard Gohan's voice. It cut through the vision of the dead Earth. Goku blinked. He saw the truth. He saw that he was a protector, not a destroyer. He clenched his fist and shattered the image of himself. In his nightmare, Vegeta heard Gohan. He heard the boy call him Prince. Vegeta's pride flared up like a sun. He said, "Frieza is dead and I am alive." He shouted, "Get out of my head." He exploded his energy and the vision of Frieza shattered like glass. Jiren heard them too. He was not part of the Trinity link, but he was close enough to feel the explosion of their spirits. He saw Goku and Vegeta and Gohan breaking free. He realized that he was not alone either. He had his pride. He had his duty. Jiren opened his eyes. They glowed brighter than ever. On the roof, Gohan's eyes snapped open. They were purple and furious. He saw the green beam coming from Vex's staff. He did not dodge. He caught the beam with his bare hand. He crushed it. Vex's eyes went wide. He stepped back. He said, "Impossible. No one escapes the Weaver's web." Gohan looked at Vex. He said, "You made a mistake. You tried to use our fears against us. But our fears are what make us fight harder." Gohan's aura exploded. It was the Trinity Beast aura again. White, blue, yellow, and purple all mixed together. But this time it was even brighter because Gohan was angry. He was angry that this monster dared to show him a vision of Pan dying. Gohan vanished. He appeared in front of Vex. He punched Vex in the face. The hit was so hard that Vex's shadow robe ripped apart. Vex flew backward and crashed into the plaza below. Gohan flew down after him. Goku and Vegeta were waiting. They were awake and they were angry too. Goku cracked his knuckles. He said that was a dirty trick. "I really hate dirty tricks." Vegeta spat on the ground. He said, "Let's turn this shadow into dust." Jiren walked over. He looked at Gohan. He nodded. He said, "You have a strong mind." Vex stood up from the crater. He was shaking. He looked at the four warriors surrounding him. He realized he was in trouble. He raised his staff and tried to summon more illusions. He shouted, "Shadows, come to me." But Gohan stepped forward. He raised his hand. He used the destruction energy to cut off the flow of shadows. He created a dome of purple light around them. He said, "No more shadows, just you and us." Vex screamed and turned into a giant spider made of darkness. He had 8 legs made of razor-sharp energy. He spat acid at them. Goku and Vegeta dodged left and right. Jiren jumped straight up and came down with a double axe handle smash on the spider's head. The spider collapsed. Goku fired a Kamehameha. Vegeta fired a final flash. The 2 beams hit the spider and blew its legs off. Vex shrieked. He tried to crawl away, but Gohan was there. Gohan walked toward him. He did not run. He walked slowly. He looked like a true god. Gohan said, "You like to make people see their worst nightmares. Now look at yours." Gohan flared his energy. Behind him, a giant avatar appeared made of purple energy. It looked like a great ape, but it was wearing destroyer clothes. The avatar roared. Vex looked at it and shrieked in terror. He was finally feeling the fear he gave to others. Gohan raised his hand. The giant avatar raised its hand. Gohan said, "Hakai." The avatar brought its giant hand down. It didn't just hit Vex, it erased the space where Vex was standing. The spider dissolved into nothingness. The green eyes faded away. The staff turned to dust. As soon as Vex died, the illusions all over the planet vanished. The shadow beasts screamed and dissolved into smoke. The red sky turned back to a normal, starry night. The fires in the city died down. Silence fell over the plaza. The Pride troopers started to cheer. Dispo limped over and high-fived Topo. Jiren walked up to Gohan. He looked Gohan in the eye. He said, "I underestimated you. I thought you were weak because you rely on others. But I see now that your bond is a strength I do not possess." Gohan smiled. He felt tired. The mental battle had been harder than the physical one. He said, "We are stronger together, Jiren. You don't have to be alone." Jiren didn't smile, but he looked at the sky with a thoughtful expression. Beerus and Whis descended from the sky. Beerus looked relieved. He said that was too close. Mental attacks are dangerous for gods. He said Gohan showed great mental fortitude. Whis said indeed. Overcoming one's own fear is the first step to true mastery. But the celebration was short. Suddenly the ground began to shake. It was not an earthquake, it was a vibration coming from space. Whis looked up. His face went pale. He tapped his staff and projected an image. It was the Grand Priest. He looked urgent. The Grand Priest said, "Warriors of the multiverse, listen to me. While you were fighting the generals, Kanba has made his move. He has bypassed the outer defenses. He is heading for the center of the multiverse. He is heading for the palace of Zeno. If he eats Zeno, he will become everything. He will become the only reality." Goku gasped. He said, "Eat Zeno-chan? Is that even possible?" We said yes. Kanbo's the void. Zeno is existence. They are opposites. If the void is strong enough, it can swallow existence. The Grand Priest said, "I need all of you to come to the palace immediately. We are gathering the final line of defense. This is the end game." Gohan looked at his friends. He looked at Jiren. He said, "Let's go." Jiren nodded. He said, "I will come. Universe 11 will stand with Universe 7. They all gathered into the travel cube. It was crowded now because Jiren, Topo, and Dispo came with them. As the cube shot up into space, Gohan looked back at the planet. He had saved it. But the real threat was still ahead. He closed his eyes and tried to rest. He knew he would need every ounce of strength for the final battle. He felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Vegeta. Vegeta didn't say anything. He just stood there. It was his way of saying, "I'm with you." Gohan smiled. He was not afraid. The Trinity was strong, and now they had Jiren. They were ready for Kanba. Stay tuned for the next episode to see the final stand at Zeno's palace.